Welcome to Loving Beyond the I Do podcast. This power couple is building stronger marriages one day at a time. Talking about real issues on love, relationships, and marriage longevity. Let's break down the barriers and engage in healthy conversation with your hosts, Jason and Tina Marie. Take a seat and buckle up because things are about to get real.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Loving Beyond the I Do podcast.
With your hosts, Jason and Tina Marie.
That was a short one.
Yeah, it was a short one.
That's me. All right, Jason, who do we have with us in the studio today?
Before we get to that, I just want to say I'm so excited for this episode for many reasons, but it's about men's health, guys. We've finally made it to the episode. I've been talking to you a while about this, but it's finally here. I have Dr. Judson Brandeis here. Welcome to the show.
But
Doc.
You said it's finally here, but how do you know men are going to be receptive? So it's not just it's here, but men, let's be able to listen and be open and receptive to what's going to be said.
There you go.
All right.
All right, Doc, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's so great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for being on.
Yes.
And thank you for bringing the knowledge that is so needed. All right, so why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself? And I'm sure you have a long list, so do the
Yeah,
short
I got
one.
a long list. You want the short version or the long version?
We want the short version, but the most dynamic part.
Let's see.
version.
Okay, I went to Brown University. Then I did research at American Red Cross for Harold T. Merriman, who figured out how to freeze blood. Then I went to Vanderbilt for medical school. I did a Howard Hughes Medical Institute research fellowship at Harvard Medical School with the folks that figured out how to do living-related kidney transplants and won the Nobel Prize for that. Then I went off to UCLA, did residency in surgery and then urology, did research in outcomes research in urology. And then I moved up to Northern California, where I joined a urology practice. I was chief of urology at my hospital. I was chief of urology at my local HMO. I was voted the top urologist in the San Francisco Bay Area for the past 9 years. And about 3 years ago, I started doing regenerative urology. So helping men who previously were unable to get erections and have physical intimacy, help them to restore their ability to have sex and relationships and physical intimacy. And then I branched out into hormone therapy. I'm a medical advisor for BioT, which is the largest testosterone company in the country. I'm an advisor for Gainswave, which is the largest shockwave company. I also speak for BTL, which makes amazing muscular rejuvenation technology. I do clinical research, write books. I got 4 kids. I'm still married after 20 plus years and a 900-page book. And God bless my wife for putting up with me and all the crap that I've put her through.
I'm sure, because I'm sure it was a long laundry list. I'm sure she had to go through a lot.
Yeah.
So if there's more, I can just imagine. So my heart goes out to her.
Yeah, that's just the Cliff Notes version, right?
Long hours, stress, all of that. So what made you go into that field of the urology and then in the part of with men?
You know, it's you're kind of like a pinball when you're younger. Just kind of like, I became real, like when I worked for American Red Cross, we were figuring out how to freeze kidneys for transplantation. So I became really interested in kidney transplantation. And then I went to Harvard for research and I worked for kidney transplantation research. So then I thought I was going to be a kidney transplant surgeon. Then I did that for a while. And then I became really interested in urology and general urology. Then I built the robotic surgery program at my hospital. I was one of the first in the country to do robotic prostatectomies. And then, you know, I always like to be on the cutting edge of everything, years ahead of people. And so I saw regenerative urology as a field and I sort of took off with that.
So what would you like to tell men? So for men,
where do you want to start?
Yeah, because it's so such a large area.
So I wrote this book, The 21st Century Man, okay? And it's the most comprehensive and medically accurate men's health book ever written, right? And that sounds like bragging, but it's...
No, it's not. It is.
Yeah. I mean, Jason can tell you it's over 900 pages. it's 101 chapters. And I'm not one of those guys that thinks that they know everything about everything.
Okay.
Right. So I invited 60 of my friends and colleagues to write about the stuff that they know about. Right. So I don't know that much about cardiology, so I have a cardiologist. I don't know that much about the feet, so I have a podiatrist. I don't know that much about the hands, so I have a hand surgeon. So, everything. And the other thing about this book that's amazing is that most men's health books are about what? About building muscle, eating, and sex. Right?
Yep.
Like we're cavemen. Right?
Well, you guys have built that.
No. Oh, come on, Tina. Don't be mean to me.
Okay.
Seriously.
All right. So,
can a brother get a break? Seriously, we're not cavemen.
All right.
We don't.
Well, the 21st century man is not a caveman.
Yeah, we don't just eat, work out, and have sex.
Right.
You sure? Okay. I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yeah. No, there's a whole section on mental health in this book.
Yeah.
Written by top psychologists and psychiatrists. There's a whole section on relationships written by therapists, written by a divorce attorney, written by fatherhood experts. There's a whole section on inspiration, gratitude, legacy. This book is really about the whole life cycle of a man from middle age onward, and how to make the most of your life, and how not to allow your health issues to get in the way of you living your best life. It's all about prevention and early intervention of really every major medical issues, not just physical, but mental, emotional, relationship issues that will get in the way of you living your best life.
That's wonderful. So all jokes aside, just pretty much understanding that there's different dynamics, there's different aspects to men, and you wanted to fill all those voids to let men know, hey, we think about this, we're part of this, we're part of the other. So just really not only mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, just the whole 9 yards. And so this book can help people wherever they are, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. The thing is, it's a long book, but I have instructions in the book. You don't read it cover to cover.
Right.
You read the introduction, you read the first chapter, which is about the hero's journey that we all undergo. And then you look at the table of contents. The table of contents is like 6 pages, right?
Right.
And you pick and choose the chapters that really relate to you, or
that are speaking really to you at that time.
Interested. I mean, if you heard about, if you have chronic back pain or knee pain or shoulder pain, and you're interested in, I heard about someone getting stem cells. There's an amazing chapter on stem cells. Or there's an amazing chapter on how to avoid hip and knee replacement surgery written by Will Workman, who's the Oakland A's team physician. So, I mean, really, there's just across the board, top doctors. These aren't people that pretend to be doctors. These are doctors that see 30, 40, 50, 60 patients a day and are in the trenches constantly and know what works and know what doesn't work. And they're here relating that information to you. And what I can't stand is reading a 300-page book, and at the end of a 300-page book, you're like, they could have summarized that in 2 pages.
They could have definitely given us the cliff notes.
Seriously, Jason. Haven't you read books like that? Okay, yes. I guarantee you, this is 900 pages, and the least number of pages I could have written this book in is 900 pages.
All right.
Yeah, it was impactful.
I know,
Yeah, when I got the book, right, I said, man, this thing is, the doc was saying that. I'm like, this thing is huge. I said, baby, this is like a medical Bible here, right? So I'm sitting down and I'm flipping through it. And in the book, you just have these one-zingers in here. Every so often, you get slapped in the face. It's like if you get sick between between certain ages or after a certain age.
No, he said before 86, I think it was.
Yeah, before 86 or 85, it's an act of God. After 85, act of God. But after that, it's on you.
No,
before that, before that, it's on you. Right. I get so excited about the book. Yeah, but before that, it's on you. So I'm thinking you telling me that when we get sick from the age of, like you say, you start at
stroke. I think, did you say stroke or heart attack?
You said all. I think it was all kind of medical issues.
Illness.
But you have, from the age of 35, I think that's where you pretty much start. Is that right, Doc?
Well, I mean, the thing is, Jason, like in your 20s or 30s, you can get away with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're young enough that like you can go out and party all night.
Absolutely.
And then wake up and go to work the next day and you can function.
Yeah.
Right. But
I remember those days.
Yeah, we all do. But, you can't do that anymore. When you're in your 50s or 60s, you can't do that anymore. You can't get away with stuff. Now, but the time to lay the foundation for your health later in life is in your 20s and 30s and 40s, right? Like you're 60 years old and you're like, damn, the past me, when I was 25 years old really screwed me over.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you're like 25 or 30, you're like, all right, I'm doing some bad stuff and the future me is going to be really, really upset with
right. Well, with what I'm doing now.
Me, right. And so it's almost like you're two different people, but you're the same person, and the stuff that you do now can have a tremendous impact on the quality of your life in the future.
Later.
Yeah, and that's what I had picked up on. It was just amazing at some of the stuff that I was reading. Like if you had certain issues and you this, that, and I think you're talking about lowering your blood pressure and all this stuff. It's like, well, first of all, you need to be seeing a doctor and you shouldn't be reading this book right about now. So I'm like, wow. I mean, that's just blunt and honest. I mean, like you shouldn't. You should be taking care of it because obviously you didn't do these things, and that's why your numbers are off the chart.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, this book is about prevention and early intervention, right? But if you have a real medical problem, get your ass to a doctor.
Right.
Go to someone who can actually, but the other thing is, I have an amazing chapter on how to make the most of your time with the doctor. Okay. So, for all the folks that are out there that go to doctors, listen up, because I'm going to tell you the insider scoop on how to make the most of your time with your doctor. Okay.
All right. We're listening.
Yeah. There was a study by a company called Cerner. Cerner makes electronic medical records, right? They looked at 100 million charts. And what they found was the average doctor visit was 16 minutes and 14 seconds, right? That's not that much time.
Right.
Right. When you get in the room, you got a timer, 16 minutes and 14 seconds, because the doctor is going to see 4 patients an hour, 5 patients an hour.
Absolutely.
Right. And so when 16 minutes and 14 seconds are up, they're going to be looking for the door. And it's not that they don't like you. And it's not that they don't want to do a good job. It's because, Kaiser or their medical system is telling them you got 15 minutes to see a patient. Or if they're in practice for themselves, in order for them to pay their bills, and there are a lot of bills in medicine, they got 15 minutes. Okay. So you got 15 minutes now to make the most of your time with the doctor. Okay. So what you need to do is write down your entire medical history. What medical problems have I had? What surgeries have I had? Do I smoke? Do I drink? What medications do I have? Make a long list of your medications, maybe even the medications that you tried for this problem and didn't work, right? And then whatever labs you've had, right? If someone doesn't print their labs for me, then I have to take time out of my visit to go tell my staff to go get the labs. Right? Get all of your imaging studies that are relevant to anything that you're there for, right? Otherwise, I have to take time out of that 16 minutes and 14 seconds to go and get imaging studies, okay? And then you write up why you're here in as much detail as you possibly can, right? So my back hurts, right? That's what some people come in and tell their doctor, oh yeah, my back hurts, okay? But other people who are smart and want to make the most out of their time, write down, my back pain started 3 weeks ago. It was when I was lifting a heavy bag of groceries. It started on the right side. It's not on the left side. It started out 10 out of 10 pain. Now it's 5 out of 10 pain. I took Motrin, ibuprofen. I've been to a chiropractor. I had pain like this 5 years ago and I had an MRI, and here's the results of the MRI and here's what worked. I mean, there's a huge difference, right? You're saving your doctor so much time because you're giving them all the information. Right. And then at the end of the day, you know, you want to have these questions answered.
Exactly.
So write them down, print them out, write them down, and you hand that whole thing to your doctor at the beginning of the visit. I have a voice dictation system. I go through stuff. I can go through stuff really, really quickly because I'm only looking for certain things that are relevant to me, right? 3-4 minutes, I've dictated your whole note. And guess what? You got me for 13 minutes. I can really focus in on why you're there. We can have a second or third or fourth level conversation. You can ask questions after your questions, right? That's how my attorney, right? Maybe it's because I'm in the Bay Area, but attorneys here are expensive. My attorney is $750 an hour, right? So that's $11 a minute. Like $11 for me is an expensive lunch.
Right.
So I'm going through an expensive lunch every minute.
Right.
So every minute that I'm with my attorney,
I'm count.
Making it count, right? Every minute that you're with your doctor, you got to make it count. Don't talk about your cat or the weather or football.
Or for them to ask you questions to try to pull it out of you of what's going on. And they have to keep asking and keep asking. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. And now what about those people who, like you said, if you're having illnesses and you're not seeing a doctor, what about those people who I'm okay until the last final minute? So what do you tell people who don't regularly go to the doctor or feel as though they don't need to?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a sexual medicine expert.
Okay.
Right? And so, let me show you how this works. Okay. You're back in the day, Jason, right? You're 20 years old. You wake up in the morning and your flag's at full mast.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Time goes by. 30s, 40s, 50s. You wake up in the morning. Is your flag at full mast anymore?
Yes.
Probably not.
Well, maybe this is not a good example.
Yes, but for majority of the part is for majority of the listeners, no. But yeah, I get it.
A friend that I'm talking to was telling me.
Answer for a friend.
Right. Yeah.
So it would be no.
There was a caller earlier that was telling me. Okay. So when you wake up in the morning and you don't have an erection anymore, that's an indication that the cardiovascular system isn't working as well as it was when you were 20.
Okay.
Right? Big surprise, right? A lot of stuff goes downhill. Okay. But that should be a signal that your cardiovascular system's not working as well. And you got to do something. You got to exercise better. You got to eat better. You got to stop smoking, stop drinking too much, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Then 10 years after you lose morning erections, you're with your partner and things don't work. That's really an indication of cardiovascular disease. And 10 years after that happens, you end up with heart disease, right? Because the blood vessels to the penis are 1 to 2 millimeters. The blood vessels to the heart are 3 to 4 millimeters.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And
so it's just so you see.
Okay, now let's talk in real terms. 1/4 of men, the first sign of cardiovascular disease is sudden death.
Wow.
Right. So you die.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And it's hard to come back from that.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. I mean, you might be lucky and someone might have some defibrillators that can snap you back or some people crank on your chest, break a couple ribs, but get you back. But you had the warning of no morning erections. Then you had the warning of erectile dysfunction. But you didn't heed those warnings. You were like, that's just part of life, or whatever. Yep. I want to deny it. I want to stick my head in the sand.
A lot of people think that.
So that is a warning sign for men who may be in their 50s, if they're not getting as many morning erections. So these are signs that we should be paying attention to instead of men just thinking, well, maybe I'm working too hard. Or maybe I'm just not getting enough rest. Or maybe I'm just not as into my mate as I used to be. But really what it is something with
all of the above.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be all of it. Yeah. Which is true.
There's always D, none of the above. E, all of the above.
All of the above.
So we have to be.
But you need to be mindful of that because people are not paying attention to that. It's like, well, like you said, Doug, I'm getting older. And it may not, or men it doesn't operate like it did.
I think because of men has to be this masculine, right, figure that when they experience erectile dysfunction, that they don't want to acknowledge it. They don't want to tell their spouse. So what do you say for those men who are saying, that may be experiencing it and just are not in the mindset of saying, hey, let me actually take this as a warning sign, right? That's very important in our health.
I mean, Tina, you're 100% right. I mean, you're right on the money. But what I tell men is I explain the aging process to them. I explain that what you're experiencing is a normal part of life, right? And I explain, like there was a study that just came out the other day that they compared muscle building in 50-year-olds versus 20-year-olds, and they looked at gene expression, right? So they looked at the subcellular level. And 20-year-olds, given the same exercise routine, will produce 3 times as much muscle as 50-year-olds.
Absolutely.
Right? So what that means is you have to work 3 times harder and 3 times smarter when you're 50 as when you're 20, right? And that's just the way it is.
Right.
Right? I mean, I'm sorry, but when you're I'm 54, right? Like my son is 16. I'm 54. I know, like he and I will go out and play basketball for half an hour, right? And we have a great time. And the next day he says, Dad, that was really fun. Let's go play basketball again. And I'm like, no, Dad can barely get off the couch. Right. And it's because I understand that when you exercise, you tear muscle down. You don't build muscle when you exercise, you tear it down. And to build muscle at my age, I need about 3 days of recovery.
Okay.
Wow.
That's just the way it is. Right. That's the physiology of a 54-year-old. And the quicker you understand that, the better off you'll be. Like all these people during COVID bought Peloton bikes, right? And half of them got injured, and half of them, and half of them didn't build any muscle. And how come? Because they were riding their bike every day, just bombing away, right? They never gave their bodies a chance to rebuild the muscle, and they were overtaxing muscles on a continual and constant basis, and their tendons and ligaments and muscles couldn't take it, so they got injured. And they weren't taking enough protein, and if you don't take in enough protein, you can't build muscle. You just break muscle down. So, to build muscle in a 20-year-old, send him to McDonald's and send him to the gym.
There you go.
Right? Yeah, you could do it. It's no problem. Right?
Stacked.
But if you want to build muscle in a 54-year-old, or I've had unbelievable success building muscles in 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds because I've really studied this. I understand exactly what men at that age need. I have incredible technologies for building muscle. I boost guys' testosterone. I get them on M-Sculpt. We talk about diet. We talk about understanding how to do weight loss. And I put the whole recipe in my book. It's the Brandeis MD Male Rejuvenation Protocol. I can routinely build 5 to 10 pounds of muscle and take off 10 to 20 pounds of muscle of fat in a guy in his 60s in about 4 months.
Wow.
And it's just about understanding all of the dynamics that go into building muscle and taking off weight in that age group.
And I heard you say in the book.
That's selfish. Too. What about women?
Yeah, well, this is all about men.
The rest of the podcast is about women. We're the ones who put on the most fat. We get.
Well, listen. More muscle, less fat, and better erections. What else could you ask for?
Oh, right. That's a trifecta right there.
Less fat in women.
But you said drink 33 ounces of water, your green vegetables, and an apple a day. I saw that in the book as well.
He said, I may have. He's like, there's 900 pages.
Yeah, I understand it. Right. So I'm like cherry picking. I'm going through and I'm like, really? It's like, but you talked about eating your fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. And I was just like, wow, I eat an apple, I eat a banana a day with some oatmeal. That's how I start my day off every morning.
That's
oatmeal is not good for you. What do you think, Doc?
Actually, oatmeal is really good for you.
Okay.
It's got a lot of fiber. It's got a slow release carb.
They said the oats are hard to break down or something. So oats are really not good for the human body.
Honestly, I don't get down in the weeds that much. Like I had a patient the other day who, he's like, well, what do you think is better, buffalo protein or beef? Like, I don't know.
Protein.
Yeah, no, but seriously, okay. There's the 99% and the 1%. Right?
Okay.
Right.
So 90. Okay, let's just be real about men's health. Okay. 50% of men have high blood pressure.
Right.
40% of men are fat or obese.
Yep.
15% of men smoke. 10% of men are alcoholic. 12% of men don't have health insurance. Okay.
Just 12%?
Just 12%.
I think it may be higher than that.
Could be higher. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like people come and ask me about like minutia. I'm not putting down your question at all.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
People come and talk to me about minutia, and I'm like, you're just missing the big picture. Like I had this patient who came in and asked me about peptides, right? And he's like, what about alpha-1 thymosin and BP157 and Sermorelin and PT141? And I looked at him. I'm like, dude, lose 50 pounds
First.
Right. And then then those kind of peptides and high performance thing that I also I'm very fluent and do all that kind of stuff too. But that's for the 1% of folks that have gotten, that do it right, that eat well, that exercise well, that don't drink, don't smoke, sleep, meditate, stretch every day. They're nice to people. They have good relationships. They have friends. They treat their spouse well. All the basic stuff. And that, that brings me to kind of the first chapter of the book, which is the hero's journey. Right. And the hero's journey is a concept I didn't create. It's created by this guy, Joseph Campbell. And it's about, really about being the hero of your own journey. All those things I just talk about. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't do drugs, don't eat too much, exercise, stretch, meditate, be nice to other people. They're all free, first of all. But we don't do all of those things, most of us, for some reason, right? And why? Because, the stresses of life are hard, and sometimes we need to escape, and sometimes we fall into, dark places, et cetera, et cetera. But if you see yourself as the hero of your life, okay, Tiger Woods, he's got his own life. Right. Johnny Depp, he's got his own life that was just dragged in front of us, for the past couple of days. All these people that we put on a pedestal, they got their own problems.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my patients.
And most of them mental.
Yeah, mental.
They got all
which leads to physical and other things. But, not, as you said, not taking that time to not doing all the things, not meditating, not whatever is going to help on them on their hero's journey.
Exactly. But if you see yourself as the hero of your own journey, the hero to your wife and kids, the hero to your workplace, the hero to your community, then you're much less likely to make dumb decisions.
You would take better care of yourself.
Yeah. You'll before you have that next drink and then drive or, say something to your spouse that you're going to regret for the next several years or hook up with some girl that you shouldn't hook up with or whatever. Think about if I'm really important,
right?
Am I going to do this? Or is this really a mistake?
That's a very good question.
Yep.
Not just for older people, but anybody.
People
in
general.
Very good question.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
I mean, people love to watch, football games and say, oh, that guy's a bum. What did he do? They're criticizing other people's decisions. But, look at your own decisions. and really think about, is that the best decision? You know, if I was out on the playing field, would people be booing me for this decision? You know, and if people would be booing you for that decision, not cheering you for that decision, then maybe it's the wrong decision for you.
Right.
So how important is it for men to pick up this book and understand what entails their entire, circumference of their health? Like, why should men really zone in doing better health for themselves?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's something called lifespan and there's something called health span.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Lifespan is how many years you live. But health span is how many years do you live well? You know, can you walk upstairs? I've had tons of patients, right? And people don't think about this because if you look at, I have a slide that I love to show, which is the world record for the 100-yard dash, right? And from 20 to 60 years old, the world record is pretty flat. You know, a 60-year-old won't get beat that badly by a 20-year-old. But that next decade, the times go up a lot. And the decade after that, the times go up even more. And the decade after that, the times go up even more. So if you're 59, you think, well, things are going to deteriorate by just a little bit each year. But that's not the case.
Wow.
After 60, things start to deteriorate a lot faster.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't even matter if you're an elite athlete, right? Who's working out 3-4 hours a day and eating right and taking supplements and optimizing everything. You're going to decline a lot faster than you did 5 or 10 years ago.
Wow.
And so you have to understand that. And so I have this really cool body composition scale in my office, and I can tell leg strength versus arm strength versus core strength. I can look at percentage of body fat. I can look at percentage of muscle. And I see a lot of guys that come in that are 50 pounds overweight and their legs are weak, right? Because, Jason, what do? We go to the gym, we do like bench press and chest, arms, right? So we look like Tarzan on the upper body.
Standing on them twigs.
And then we got little chicken legs.
Yep.
Right. But what's important when you're 70 years old?
Your legs. Absolutely.
Your legs.
Yeah, your legs and balance. Yes.
So Jason has a good wife that takes care of him to make sure he does legs.
Yeah,
exactly.
She loves to do legs.
You know, if you got 50 extra pounds in the upper body, and you got chicken legs, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
You're going to fall. You're going to break your hip. And the statistics show that 50% of people who break their hip are dead within 5 years.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
That's just numbers. Mm-hmm. That's the world that I deal with. I deal with data. I deal with numbers. I tell people, you can't tell a guy, Jason, right, what to do.
Exactly.
He's going to look at you and say, screw you. I'll do whatever the hell I want to do.
Yep.
Right. But you got to tell them what the data is. And there's so much false information out there and bad information out there. This book is written by 60 of the top doctors in the country. People that are trained at the very best institutions in the country that, they're not in an ivory tower, writing articles.
Right.
Like everyone in this book is seeing patients every single day and knows what it takes to make patients better. And they're giving you advice based on that experience, not the experience of teaching medical students or speaking at conferences, but the experience of being on the ground and seeing real people every single day and knowing what works and knowing what doesn't work. That's the big, big difference between this book and really any other men's health book that's ever been written is, I'm not one person that's writing about everything. I just write about what I know. I write about sex. I write about, Gary Donovitz wrote the testosterone chapter. He's chairman and founder of BioT, which is the biggest testosterone company in the United States. I mean, the people that I have writing chapters in this book are just astounding.
Yeah, and you can tell. I was surprised to see eyeball health, hand and feet. I was like, he's covering everything. And I was, and like you said, if it doesn't pertain to you, don't worry about it. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't get high, So those chapters I didn't really pay attention to because I didn't have to.
You don't do drugs. Say you don't do drugs. You're like, I don't get high. There's other drugs. I don't get high. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't do drugs and I don't get high. So I didn't pay any attention to those chapters. But I mean, like you went from the head down to the feet. Everything.
But I mean, the guy that wrote the chapter on hand, Greg Horner, he was a wide receiver at Northwestern and a 110-meter hurdler, then a mechanical engineer. Then he went to Johns Hopkins. He did his residency with me at UCLA in orthopedics. And now he's one of the top hand surgeons in the country. That's the guy that's writing the chapter on hand health.
I got a question.
That's the guy that you want to get advice from.
Exactly. And you put it all together in one big old book. Yep. I got a question about, I'm not sure if I read this correctly, about narrowing of the arteries. As I said, if you can change your diet or something like that, you can kind of get the blood to flowing back through your arteries. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, everything's about circulation.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It really is. Your brain function is about circulation.
Okay.
Your athletic function is about circulation. Your blood pressure is about circulation. Your erections are about circulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's everything works. What's that expression? Everything tastes better with bacon.
Yeah.
Everything works better with circulation, the blood flow. You need your entire function of your body is entirely dependent on oxygen and glucose, which is sugar, which is our food, and then the other nutrients that we have in the body, and the way that's delivered is through the circulatory system. And so, I just wrote an ebook on circulation. I have so many resources out there. If you go to the 21stcenturyman.com, all written out in letters, there's the bios of all the doctors, that whole little section that I just talked to you about how to make the best use of your time with your doctor. I have a video on that on my on the 21stcenturyman.com website. I just created an ebook on testosterone. I just created an ebook on circulation, simple things that you can do to boost your circulation, stay adequately hydrated, make sure that you don't eat foods that have high cholesterol, right? Because cholesterol deposits on the blood vessels, right? When it deposits on the blood vessels, it limits the flow. When you limit the flow of oxygen and nutrients, you have a decrease in performance. Also, those blood vessels get stiffer, right? So blood vessels are elastic.
Okay.
Right? They open and close. But if they're inelastic because they have plaque or cholesterol on them, and then that cholesterol gets calcified, guess what? They can't stretch. Right? So they go from a dynamic living system to basically a PVC pipe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
PVC pipe doesn't
stretch.
No.
Right? Because think about, so can I go do a little physiology lesson?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Okay.
Make it interesting, though.
Yeah. So what is blood pressure?
Yeah, the way that the blood flows through the body.
The pressure of the blood.
Exactly. But why do you have two numbers?
Is it the way the blood goes out and then how it's coming back?
Sort of.
Okay.
Right. Like when you have a PVC pipe, right? When you got a hose, there's one pressure.
Right.
Right. But in your heart, there's two pressures. Right. Because when the heart pumps, it pumps blood into arteries. Right. But you have 25,000 miles of arteries in your body. Right. So your heart's only about the size of a cantaloupe. There's no pump the size of a cantaloupe that can pump fluid 25,000 miles.
Wow.
Okay.
Right. So each artery has a muscular wall. And so when the blood gets pumped into the artery, that artery stretches. So it goes from kinetic energy of movement, to potential energy. And then that artery then contracts and pushes blood continually through the system. Okay. And so that pressure of potential energy, where the artery is distended from blood, gives the systolic blood pressure. And that pressure, when the artery contracts, and generates kinetic energy and relaxes, that's the diastolic blood pressure.
Okay.
Right? That's why you have two blood pressures. But if there's more resistance in blood vessels, right? If the blood vessels are beginning to get clogged, what does the heart have to do?
Pump harder.
Pump harder. And what do we call it when things pump harder?
Not
High
sure.
blood pressure.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a trick question.
Okay. All right.
See, we thought it was a trick question.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not E, all of the above.
Okay.
Okay. I know the answer. High
There
blood
you
pressure.
go. You got an A for the day.
All right.
Jason, we're
exactly.
still working
Wow.
on you, but Tina's got the A.
All right. That's cool.
Wow. Okay.
Jason, family to steal.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So to eliminate that, as you said, the high blood pressure, it's just making sure that with proper diet and eating, that the arteries continue to stay elastic.
Right. So what you want to do is decrease the resistance of the arteries, right? So how do you do that? Okay. So first of all, smoking causes damage to the inner lining of blood vessels.
Okay.
And when there's damage to the inner lining of blood vessels, like say there's damage to your skin, what happens? You bleed, you form a clot.
Yeah.
well,
right.
right?
Yeah.
When you form a clot in a blood vessel, it blocks the flow.
Sure.
When you have a blockage of flow, Tina, what happens to blood pressure?
It goes high.
Goes up. There you go.
Yeah, you go.
Two for two.
Nosebleed, strokes.
All right.
There you go.
Jason doesn't like pop
Exactly.
quizzes, so I'm gonna get the A for
I
the
just
day.
got some answers right there, baby.
Okay. If you're eating lots of vegetables
Mm-hmm.
and watermelon and beets that have nitric oxide, which is an important neurotransmitter in your body, and it allows blood vessels to open and close more easily, Jason, what happens to your blood pressure?
It goes down.
Bing, bing, bing. There you go.
Yeah.
2-1. Okay.
2-1.
Now, all right. Now, let me explain to you how blood pressure medications work. Are you interested?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because blood pressure medications are good only if you really, really need them.
Okay.
Okay. You have two places in your body where you measure blood pressure. One is in your neck, called the carotid body, and the other is in the kidney. Okay. And the reason for that is one, it's really important that you get blood flow to your brain.
Right.
Okay. That's the one most important part of your body that gets blood.
Absolutely.
And two, your kidneys, because kidneys monitor how much fluid you have and they monitor the electrolytes.
Okay.
Right. So if your calcium gets too high or your potassium gets too high, you get a heart arrhythmia and you die.
Okay.
Right. So you don't want that. And if your brain doesn't get enough blood flow and oxygen, it's not a good thing too.
Sure.
Right. Okay. So your body gets readings from blood pressure. And when the blood pressure isn't high enough there, you send signals to your heart for it to pump harder. And you send signals to other parts of your body to constrict those blood vessels so you shunt more blood to the brain and the kidney.
Okay.
Okay, now when you take a blood pressure medication, it artificially opens up blood vessels in the central circulation. So you get more blood flow to your brain and to your kidneys. But if you're shunting blood flow to the brain and the kidneys and other vital organs, what happens to your fingers, your toes, and the penis?
They get numb. Your fingers get numb.
Yeah.
You're not getting as much.
You don't
It's
get
not
as much, and
flowing
then the penis is not
Yeah.
working.
You know, your toes are like, what's going on, man?
Right. I need
get
some
blood flow.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why if you look at the label for any blood pressure medication, it'll list erectile dysfunction on
That's
the
one of
label
them.
as one of the side effects, right? So what you want to do is do everything you possibly can not to need high blood pressure medications, because once you get on that train, it's hard to get off.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
Okay. So, if your blood pressure is really high and you're doing all the things that you need to do, then by all means, you got to take your blood pressure medications, because you can get a stroke or other bad stuff can happen.
Now, what do you classify as high?
Right. I was going to say that too.
Well, so normal blood pressure is 120/80.
Mm-hmm.
I think 130/90 is considered moderately high, and 140/100 is considered high blood pressure.
Okay.
So someone who's at 145 or 150, that's pretty high, huh?
Yeah. But the thing is, you want to start with lifestyle interventions. And in this country, in general, I'm making generalizations, people like the idea of just taking a pill and it'll get better.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, we already know
take
that.
Food.
That's why we have the pharmaceutical company, because they're like, people don't want to change. As you said earlier, they don't want to do all of those things that you mentioned. They want to do one or two and think it's going to be enough.
Because they're hard. And the other thing is, doctors are rushed. They have 16 minutes and 14 seconds. And instead of sitting down with you and explaining to you, you should eat that. This is how you should exercise. This is, these are the lifestyle interventions that we should talk about. They'll just give you a pill and say, take this pill. Your blood pressure will go down. Next year when you come in, your blood pressure will be better. And then maybe next year, you had more stress. It was COVID. You put on some more weight. Now all of a sudden you got type 2 diabetes. Okay, here's a diabetes pill. And then your blood pressure is a little higher. So we'll add another pill onto that. Right. And then, those blood pressure medications, especially beta blockers, that mean your heart rate doesn't go up as high. So you can't exercise as much and you're more sedentary. So then the year after that, you put in another 20 or 30 pounds. So it's this bad cycle.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, but it's not your doctor's fault.
Exactly. No, if you would eat better and do better, then sure.
He's just trying to help you patch all the leaks.
Right. He's just trying to keep you around.
It's a partnership that you form with your doctor. I know hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of doctors. They're almost all good people. They're almost all well-intentioned. They're almost all highly educated. They want to do the right thing, but it's hard to treat that many people and to turn their lives around. Like, I have a very unique practice. I don't accept insurance as payment for my services anymore. I was an insurance-based practice for 15, 20 years. I had a great practice. I loved my patients, but I just felt like I couldn't spend time with the patients like I wanted to. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't make the impact on people's lives that I can do now. And so now when I see patients for the first time, I spend an hour with them. I'm in the office all the time. I'm not running back and forth to surgery, so I can follow patients.
Did you check your wife's blood pressure when you said you were going to do that?
Oh, that's all. Read. That's a great question. She's sharp, man. I can tell, Jason, you can't get away with anything.
Nothing.
Nothing. Oh, man. Tina, you should meet my wife.
We will when we come that way.
Yeah, there you go. Read chapter 101. That's my own hero's journey.
Okay.
So, your hero's journey really starts when life doesn't go the way that you had planned it.
Sure.
And so that's a really long story. I don't have quite the time to tell that story, but it is, my own personal hero's journey that started at the age of 50.
Okay.
I had done a lot of stuff up until that point, but it was all stuff kind of in my wheelhouse, stuff that I had been preparing to do all my life. At the age of 50, I really had to do something dramatically different in order to get back on my feet and succeed.
Sure. Yeah.
And continue your hero's journey.
Yeah.
Your purposeful living.
Exactly. And really build on all of the skill sets that I accumulated up until that point to take it to the next level.
Okay. That's awesome.
Well,
That's awesome. So for those men out there, what is one last gem that you want to drop on them? So because I know you probably have 500 of them or 900 because you have 900 pages. So for those men who are listening and those wives that are making their husbands listen,
yes,
give us one good gem when it comes to urology.
So I see a lot of spouses that come in eventually to my office with their husband or their partner, and they'll pull me aside and they'll say, I want to thank you because I've been telling my husband these things for years. And for some reason, he listens to you. And I don't really care who he listens to as long as he listens to someone.
Absolutely.
Right. And so to the guys out there, your wives are nagging you not because they want to make you feel uncomfortable or unhappy. They're nagging you because they care about you, and they see that you're making decisions about yourself and about your own health that aren't the best decisions for you. And it's really important to understand that being strong as a man isn't just about taking care of other people and their needs. Being strong as a man is about taking care of your own health in a way in which you can take care of yourself, and then you can take care of other people. And that's an important part of your hero's journey and the legacy that you write for you and yourself, and how you're modeling your behavior for your kids and the people that are around you is taking really good care of yourself so that you can model that kind of behavior for your kids and other people, and also that you're capable of helping other people.
That was wonderful.
Yeah.
I think he stole. His family stole. I think that was, he got that for the steal.
Yeah, he did. He turned around. He got the whole set. He took it right away from us, right? He just,
We didn't even see that happen.
yeah. Oh, you got to be quicker than that.
So that was wonderful. Well,
Yes,
thank you so
yes.
much.
So
for
tell
being
us
with
how they can get the book, where they can get it. And
Gosh. Yeah, please go on my website called the21stcenturyman.com, but it's all written out in letters, right?
Mhm.
If you go to Amazon, you'll make Jeff Bezos even richer, and he'll have, a big mansion on the moon. But if you go to my website, you'll make me happy. And we have a lot of really good information on the website and resources, et cetera, et cetera. You can go, I have a supplement company where we make men's health supplements called affirmscience.com, AFFIRM science.com. And then if you want to read about my medical practice, that's brandeismd.com, brandeismd.com. We do some really, really cool stuff. I do we didn't even get to any of my clinical research studies, which are really just incredible.
That means we have to do a part 2.
Yeah, there you
sure.
go.
And maybe
And then,
we'll bring on Mrs. Dr. J.
Oh, man.
And see how she went through that study
that
also.
transition, right?
I'm kind of booked up for the next couple of years.
You'll get the real story.
Real story. The story behind the story.
Yeah, I got all the skeletons coming out of the closet. Yeah.
All right. So
And then I have a YouTube channel too, where I put a lot of my videos. I make a lot of patient videos. I do a lot of teaching for other physicians. And so I put a lot of that kind of stuff up on my YouTube channel, which is
wonderful.
Brandeis MD.
Brandeis MD under
Yeah.
YouTube.
All right.
I got a question. So do you only see patients in the California area, or can you see anybody across the country?
I do telehealth consultations. I do a lot of second opinions and that kind of stuff. It's not my favorite thing to do because I like that. To me, there's nothing like interacting with someone in person, and I can, it's interesting. I tell people I can look at someone and tell them what their testosterone level is, and I'm usually right within about 10%.
Okay.
And I had a patient that came in yesterday, and I was like, and we had his labs, and he said, what's my testosterone? I said, I think it's 401. Like I'm on his lab slip, and he's like, his jaw went down, and he's like, you told me it was going to be 400. And I looked at him, I'm like, man, I must be off these days.
That's
Right.
funny.
But it's over time, if you're in touch with what's going on with your patients, you develop an intuition, and that intuition you really can't get over the phone or over Zoom. Medicine is a healing art, and part of art is just kind of experiencing the vibe and what you get back from a patient. So, I do consultations and second opinions and that kind of stuff because, I have a name that's out there, but for me, it's much more fun to see people in person.
Wonderful, wonderful.
What should your testosterone level numbers be? What, about 900, 800, 900?
Yeah, I mean, I love to get when I do replacement on guys, I get them between 1,000 and 1,200.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but that's a whole other. I just created 2 ebooks, one on testosterone replacement for regular guys, and then the other on testosterone and bodybuilding replacement, because that's a whole. I see a lot of bodybuilders and young guys that really, really, really mess themselves up by playing around with stuff that they should not be playing around with.
So before we let you go, okay. Well,
no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say when he said bodybuilders and stuff. So as far as the normal stuff, like the pre-workouts and stuff like that, is that good?
Yeah. I mean, that pre-workout stuff is, creatine and protein and nitric oxide, citrulline, or you can take my product called Affirm, that stuff, that's great. I'm talking about testosterone derivatives, dihydrotestosterone derivatives, 19 NORs,
wow.
Those kind of things that, doctors don't prescribe them because it's not really legal and it's kind of frowned upon. But then the problem is you get the stuff from Mexico. Mm-hmm. And you get, the gym rats that are telling people what to do and sticking needles on people's arms, and you don't know what's in the stuff.
Right. Exactly.
You don't know what the concentrations are. So it's a big problem. And it's not just gym rats. I got people that are police officers and firemen and corrections officers. I'm learning that there's a much bigger culture of powerlifting, bodybuilding, bulking up for professional and other reasons than I ever thought. And so I'm trying to learn about it, and I'm trying to help educate people so that they can understand. You get kids are 18, 19, 20 years old taking high doses of testosterone, not realizing that it really affects your fertility.
Yes, education is the key.
Yeah, you're playing around with this stuff so you can get bigger and bulkier, but then you're 28 years old, you have erectile dysfunction, you can't have kids.
Wow. Yep.
That's something. Yep. Hey, education is king. Yes, boy, I tell you, you need to know this stuff.
Absolutely. Right? All right. Well, I guess that wraps up another episode for us.
I want to say thank you so much for
coming. And I look forward to part 2.
Yes.
Part 2. Yeah.
All right.
I have to really check the schedule for that one.
It'll be just like a Jason and Judson show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, as always,
you forgot to tell you. I knew there was something that we should have done.
I can believe it. Oh, man. All right.
You
so, as always.
Invite.
Yes. Like I didn't put it on the calendar, baby.
All right. So,
hold on one second.
For the final time, as always, we're in it to win it.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Lovin' Beyond the I Do podcast. Head over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Legendary Relationship, or visit our website at legendaryrelationship.com. Till next time, remember to make every day count.